Hello again, welcome back. We're going to continue talking about React Native. Um, so far, looking at our syllabus here, you can see we're on class number 9, I think, right? So it's the 21st. And I'm going to go click on class 9 here and take a look at what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about React navigation. So in the previous videos, we created a basic React Native app, but it had a single screen, right? So the goal here is to create some navigation, like how do we get from one screen to another, right? Now you could use a scrolling pattern, right, where you scroll through the data and you could cram all your data on one screen, but sometimes it's good to organize data into different screens. So, when you navigate from one page to another, it feels like you're looking at a different set of content, or that content is grouped by the screen, right? You're not just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling endlessly through like never-ending content, kind of like Instagram or something, right? So sometimes it's kind of nice when you have one page that's dedicated to a particular thing, right? So there's several different ways to navigate on mobile, and it's also different on Android versus iOS. They're similar, but then they also use some different navigation paradigms, right? So let's talk about that. I'm going to zoom in on this link here, and let's talk about navigating through screens. So there's several different navigation schemes you can use. There's a stack, there's tabs, there's drawers, and there's modals, okay? So let's take a look at each one of these. So a navigation stack might look like this, and if you tapped on a button in this screen in the back, you might go and add one screen to the stack. And then if you tapped again, you'd get another screen, and if you tapped again, you'd end up with another screen on top. And the thing about this navigation scheme is that it's like pages in a book. So if we were on the screen on the top and you tap the back button, usually they put that in the upper left corner, then we would go back to the previous page. Okay, so we call it a stack, and the screens are all held in an array, and you can kind of work your way backwards and forwards through the array. It's kind of like the history in the browser. Okay, tab navigation. So a tab navigation scheme might look something like this, right? So let's imagine we're currently on this screen here, the red one. You have a row of tab buttons at the bottom, and if you tap on the red one, you end up here, right? And if I tap on the green one, I end up here, and I could tap on the blue one, and I could end up here. And within these screens, you can have anything. You could have another stack navigator. You wouldn't have another tab navigator. You don't really stack those, right? But you could have a stack navigation scheme like we had up here, could be in here, or we could have some scrolling navigation, right? So the thing about the tab navigation is each tab represents one task. It's kind of like having a small application within an application. So this would be task number 1, and we do it here. And usually the tasks are, it's best practice not to have those tasks cross over. So if you're doing something in the first tab and you have a button inside this screen here, tapping it won't take us to one of these other two tabs, right? It would all happen within the red tab. And then when I do something different or start working on a different task, I could click on the green one, and everything in that task would happen here. Drawer navigation. So drawer navigation includes a drawer, which is this little side menu here that pops out, right? This is on, tab navigation is used on iOS and on Android, but originally it's like kind of a big thing on iOS, like everything is done this way, right? On Android, we have the drawer navigation, right? So usually we don't use this on iOS, right? And you can see the drawer pops out, and it's kind of like the tab, right? So you have a list of choices here, and then those choices take you to different screens. Probably the biggest difference here is that with tab navigation, you can only really fit about 5 buttons on the tab, okay? And Apple actually recommends not having more than 5 options on the tab, okay? With the drawer navigation, the list here can be pretty long and it can scroll, so you can actually have as many options as you want here. Modal. So a modal view is a view that sets a mode. So you see these on the desktop and you'll see them in iOS and Android. Imagine this larger gray screen in the back is the current page or screen that you're looking at in any one of the schemes above, and something pops up and it's asking you a question like, do you want to allow notifications? Do you want to reply to this message? Do you want to copy this thing or do something, right? And it pops up in a little window that sits in front of the screen. And the idea is you have to answer the question in the little pop-up window before you can get back to what you were doing, okay? So the idea modal means like set a mode. So the box pops up, it asks, hey, set the mode or make a choice. And then after you make that choice, you can continue, okay? So again, all these navigation schemes can be combined. So you can see here, I have a tab navigator. The first tab has a stack view in it. Maybe the second tab has a scroll view or just a single page. And then the third tab has a stack navigator and a modal view in it, right? So the modal view, like you wouldn't always see it. It'll just pop up when it's needed, right? But I'm just showing it here. So anyway, so there's some diagrams there and just a basic overview of the navigation schemes, okay? So when it comes to React Native, there's a couple libraries you can use for navigation. So there's React Navigation, React Native Router Flux, and React Router Native, okay? So I'm going to choose React Navigation for these examples, and I'm choosing this because it's what was recommended in the React Native guide. So they recommend using this. So they actually don't provide a navigation scheme as part of the default React Native code. They let the open source community kind of supply that, right? And this one, it seems to be pretty good. Like, I like it. It does everything, and it's not hard to work with. Some of these other ones are pretty good, and they have different options, but some of them are also like not quite finished. Like all the features aren't there, or they're missing some feature. React Navigation seems to be the most mature out of these. Okay, so. We're going to go through an example of how to set up React Navigation and how to create a tab navigator and a stack navigator. Okay, we'll start with the stack navigator and then we'll add some tabs to it. Okay, I'm going to cover that in the next video, so we'll just go all over the whole thing together right before this video gets too long. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, and we'll set up our navigation scheme.